Hello and welcome to this edition of Pop and Scott Talk Baseball. Another week into the season, ending really close to the month of April being done, or first full month. Starting to see, I said it last week, we're starting to see some teams maybe not pulling away or beating everybody, but some teams falling back where they're already done for the year. How was your week in watching baseball, and overall, how was your week?
Well, I mean, it was. I started like I do all the time. During the week, I make notes so that I got stuff talk. I stopped on injuries. It was depressing. How many people were getting hurt? And I mean, I've still got some, but I mean, it was kind of depressing how many people getting hurt, not just pitchers. Another fun thing I found, we were talking about the stolen bases, and the main thing we talked about was the distance, that a pizza box bases now, the distance is shorter, and the pitchers can't throw 3 times over. The pitch clock, I thought about the pitch clock. Pitchers can't hold the ball anymore.
Right. That's what I said that before. I think the pitch clock has been more for the stealing.
They can't hold the ball anymore like Scherzer used to do, and the guy could mess his timing up. You can't hold it. You got to throw the pitch. So that I just thought I'd bring that up. But
yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you're dead on it. And also the pitch clock. If a pitcher gets in a certain rhythm, there is a clock right there that tells the batter, oh, every time at 11, this guy is throwing or whatever. Or when he gets down really close, he can't throw over to first. So, that because he can only break the rubber by so many times, twice.
Right.
But
in the third time, if he can do it 3 times, but he better get the guy on the third time or they're going to give him a base.
Right. So yeah, that's how I kind of was thinking the same along the same lines.
So you may have mentioned it. I just probably didn't understand it.
No, I mean that's it. To need to be brought up again. And the thing about the injuries, and this has been brought up before in football and other sports, these guys are so muscle bound now. They are just one big muscle walking around. They're so lean. And I feel like that adds to, I'm not saying they need to be fat boys, but I think, the more muscle you have, more tighten, you got to stretch them out. You got, you just can't hop up. And there's a lot of, baseball, you have time to sit down a little bit, and it's not like other sports. I mean, I guess you do in football and stuff too, but I just feel like that's adding some of it to it. And like you mentioned last week with pitchers, the fielders are no different. They take a week off with their family and they're right back at it because they know if they can get 10 more feet on a fly ball, that's more home runs. And they get a bigger paycheck. So I think it's adding to the fielders too.
Well, I mean, you also have where the guys, like you said, are in such great shape that sometimes they're in too good a shape. Maybe. I mean, they're just. It's like
popping rubber bands.
Well, right, or tuning a guitar.
Right.
You can only tune it so far, and then the strings are going to break. So, I mean, in the old days, the guys had to work other jobs in the off season. They didn't play baseball all year round and stuff. So, I played softball for almost 20 years, and we used to play at Brian Williamson. I pitched 2 nights a week. We'd play 2 nights a week, and then play on the weekend, play tournaments. And I mean, I'd be sore, but I wasn't tearing muscles and all that stuff. I messed up a calf one time, and I never thought that was going to heal. But I mean, it's just, I mean, it's like Rendon. He tore a hamstring. He's out for the year, and he was having a real good year. In Minnesota, I mean, they already had about 12 people on the injured list, and their pitcher Daniel Duarte, he's going to have elbow surgery. Austin Hayes is out for the Orioles. They're real good left fielder with a calf muscle, and they brought up Kerstad. But Kowser is playing so well, he's playing out there now. And Blake Snell, he went on the IL with an abductor.
Well, we knew that was a matter of time.
Yeah, he came back too quick. In Washington, they lost their right fielder, Lane Thomas, to an MCL sprain. And then yesterday, the guy that either hits a home run or strikes out. Oh, mercy. Well, that's most everybody. Well, I'll think of it in a minute. He went out with a bad shoulder.
Are you talking about Schwarber for the Phillies?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he bounced around a little bit. He's a power hitter, and he bounced around. And I believe last year he played with the Yankees, and they booed him so much he had to get out of Dodge.
Joey Gallo?
Yeah, Joey Gallo. And he went out, his shoulder's messed up. The Mets, they got some bad news. Francisco Alvarez has a torn UCL, and he might be out for the year. Yeah. JD Martinez had back tightness, but it looks like he's going to be back any day now.
He was in the lineup today.
Okay, well, that's it. And then he came back today,
or yesterday. Yeah,
but he had back tightness.
But the Mets do have a very good catcher prospect. I don't know if they're going to bring him up, but I know I saw Tomas Nido was in the lineup today.
Yeah. And Cody Bellinger, he has a rib contusion. And the first baseman, Cassis of Boston, he broke his rib. So they traded and got another backup first baseman. So they got some help there. Pete Alonso hit his 200th home run yesterday. So that's
fastest in Mets, the fastest in Mets history. And there's only four Mets have only hit over 200 home runs, and one of them in their time with the Mets. I mean, let me see if I can name them from memory. Mike Piazza, which David Wright, Darryl Strawberry, might only be three, and him. So
yeah,
that's pretty good company.
Yep. Oh yeah. And Milwaukee, Wade Miley's having Tommy John surgery. The poor Cubs. I picked them to win the division, and automatically they wind up in the high. They lost Kyle Hendricks. He's with his back on the injured list, and Drew Smiley's on the injured list with his left hip. So,
well, we have to remember too. It's just the first month of the season. Players are going to be taken out with mild injuries. They might sound bad,
Right.
They
put them on a 10-day list, so they got to stay on it for 10 days.
Right. And also they are just being more protective at this part of the season until for the back half of the season. So we have to remember that sports all around in my lifetime have changed. Guys would play with, all kinds of problems. They don't anymore because it's a business.
Well, there's too much money invested in it.
So much money invested.
And Jackson Holiday got sent back to AAA because he was only hitting 190. They sent him back down to get some more reps.
Well, and that's a tough decision too, because you don't want to. If he stays up, he can destroy his confidence because he's not hitting. But sending him down can destroy his confidence because you're sending him down. Being a 20...
I had the opportunity to watch the games, and especially when the left-handed pitcher was in there, he was lost. I mean, totally. You could tell he was pressing. He was lost.
You hope he's getting the phone calls from Dad steering his head right. Because I mean, that's a good thing with having a Matt Holliday as your dad. That's at least somebody to talk to.
Exactly. Yeah. And that organization really takes care of their players too.
They're so deep. Taking him out the lineup, they just who's next? The Oakland A's, they've got a few good ball players. Yes, they do.
They've got their bullpen is like the 7th ranked bullpen in major leagues right now, earned run average. Folks, if you can see an Oakland A's game turn it on. Pray it's close. And they get to the ninth inning. And they bring their closer in. Young man's named Mason Miller. I saw him twice. He blew Judge away like a feather in a hurricane. Yesterday, or day before yesterday, the Orioles won yesterday. They hit about 400 home runs. But day before yesterday, he came in the 10th inning after Oakland got the lead in the top of the 10th. They tied the game up in the bottom of the ninth against the Philly phenom, Kimbrel. And so then they scored in the top of the 10th, and they brought this kid in. He gave up one ground ball and struck out two people. The last person he struck out was Gunnar Henderson. 101, 100, 102. Henderson didn't get close to any three of them. He didn't try to throw a slider. He just threw three fastballs at the top of the zone, and Henderson, as good as he is, never had a chance. If you get a chance to see this kid pitch, you got to tune him in. And I don't think he's going to be somebody is going to give Oakland the farm for this kid at the break because they're going to need a closer. The Orioles might be.
Too bad he didn't stay with Baltimore because Baltimore needs a closer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But they might trade for him, or Atlanta, or the Yankees or the Dodgers. Somebody that somebody could use somebody better than they got. And I mean, this kid is awesome. Jim Palmer was doing the game yesterday, and Jim Palmer, he was a decent pitcher, Hall of Famer, and he was saying, look, there's a certain. You can say certain people throw the ball hard. This is another level. He said this, and he said, watch him. It doesn't even look like he's putting effort into it. And he's throwing 101.
Yeah, that's like Skeens with Pittsburgh. Well, he hasn't been up yet, but they keep showing his starts on MLB, and because he's only throwing 3 innings.
Yeah.
In the minors. And everybody's trying to figure out why the Pirates haven't brought him up yet.
They're going to wait so they don't have to pay him.
Well, it's already past that. They can bring him up. They got a year. I still don't understand what
you said the key word, son. Pirates.
He's killing it. I mean, of course, 3 innings. I mean, he is just. I think they said he's thrown 100 out of 126 of the fastest pitchers clocked this year at any level. He's got 125 of them.
Remember I told you I saw him in that breakout thing against the Orioles, and I mean, I oh my goodness, everything was 101, 102.
Right, yeah. The MLB named him the pitcher of that whole series. The catcher for the Mets I'm talking about was not named, but they talked about it because the catcher was the kid from UVA. That you were.
Oh yeah, I think he's in the Red Sox organization.
Yeah, he's in Boston, which I don't understand what Boston's doing either.
Well, we're not there, and they may. Okay, the Orioles sent Jackson Holliday back down because obviously he was having problems. He was pressing, so they sent him back down to try to get his head straight. Other teams see this. Now they got to start that. Wait a minute. If we bring our kid up, something's liable to happen. Let's give him a few more reps down there.
Yeah, but that catcher for Boston's like 22, 23.
Yeah, he's just he's
not getting younger. He's getting older.
Oh, and here's a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about LSU and Arkansas playing. The game I enjoyed so much, the number 1 against number 8. Arkansas is no longer number 1. Texas A&M is. Texas A&M is number 1. Friday night, they played, it was on late, and they played Georgia out in Texas, College Station. In the 3rd inning, the top of the 3rd, Georgia's up 9-0. The game was, they cut the game short after 7 innings. The Texas A&M Aggies scored 19 unanswered runs. I sat there and watched some of it. It was I mean, home run, double, triple, home run, 2 singles. And of course, they were walking people. I mean, it was errors. I mean, it was 19 unanswered runs, and they had the slaughter rule, so they ended it after 7. But that was crazy. The Rockies and Astros are playing in Mexico City.
Right.
And Alvarez, that little guy, he hit 2 461 home run yard.
You're talking about you're talking about now who? Jordan Alvarez?
Yeah.
The big guy.
That's why I was being
I was getting well, when you say Houston, a little guy, I'm thinking Altuve. I know you're being joking. I wanted to clear it up.
The big dude. He hit 2 461.
I really like Jordan.
In the same game. He's the third person in Major League history to do it. And I thought the other 2 names, I never heard of them. But 461 feet, 2 of them. I mean, he just
Mexico City's low.
It's high altitude.
Oh,
it's high altitude. That's why the ball flies.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Then they'll be playing again the second game today. I believe it's the second game today.
Are they playing 2 there? Because I know I was looking today at the schedule because the Mets and Phillies only are playing 1 in London, and then they come back. They go to London, play 1 game, and then come back.
I think they played. They were supposed to play 2 games.
Okay. I mean, it's not like going Mexico City's not quite as far, I guess.
Well, last year it was San Diego and somebody, and they played 2 games. And then the other thing, just for kicks, I pulled up the standings and just took a quick look at them this morning. In the American League, Baltimore and Yankees are tied for first. In the East, the Yankees are 18-10, Baltimore 17-9, Cleveland's 19-8. They've split with Atlanta, and they're playing the rubber match today. Seattle. See, I didn't pick them this year. They might do something. But anyway, they're 15-12, so they're doing well. In the National League, the Braves are at 18-7, Milwaukee at 17-9, and the Dodgers are at 18-11, and they're the only team in the West that has a winning record. And in the American League West, Seattle has a winning record, and I think there's Texas is 500, or maybe 1 game over it, and everybody else is under 500. And Houston's done. Houston's one of those teams that are done. There's no way they can come back from this deficit. No way. If they do,
we're going to mark the calendar that my dad said it. They're not coming back.
If they come back, as one of the guys on MLB said the other day, it'll be the greatest comeback in history. And and of course, Oakland and Pittsburgh, well, they're not totally out of it, but they're not playing that well. The Rockies, the White Sox. The White Sox and the Rockies.
Athletics.
Yeah. I mean, if the White Sox and the Rockies played a series against each other, about 18 people would show up, and they'd be related.
Did somebody play it?
But I mean,
people's mamas won't even go.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, but every sport's like that, where you have, like you said at the beginning, you have certain teams that are in certain teams just aren't very good. They just aren't.
Yeah, but I do like that the majority of the teams this year, it just seems like it's very even baseball. It just seems that way. I don't. By looking, I can't watch as much as I would like to, but by looking at what I can, it just seems like the games are very evenly matched, and with all these injuries, it's coming. It's going to come down to AAA teams playing and players.
It'll be who's the healthiest at the end. Oh, and Cole has started throwing some, so they're hoping he'll be back shortly for the Yankees. And Rodon is pitching very well for him now, so he looks like he's back to.
Yeah, I want Cole back because that's my fantasy.
It looks like Rodon is not back where he was 2 years ago, but he's close.
Right.
And he's certainly not. Last year he was horrible. He was just horrible. And but that's about all I have written down because and I've watched yesterday. I was flipping back and forth watching the Nationals and the Orioles in the evening, your mother and my stepmother and I sitting there watching them, and I left it mainly on the Oriole game because those young kids, I just love watching them play. And the kid for Oakland was pitching very well, and then he gave up a couple of hits, and that was the ball. I mean, then the gates opened.
Right.
And Gunnar hit one about 400 feet. And I mean, they hit three.
Oh,
they hit back-to-back home runs. Gunnar hit one, and then the first baseman came up and he hit one.
Yeah, the Athletics have a few good players, but they're not great, and their starting pitching is just horrendous.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Rushman. Rushman was batting right-handed against left-handed pitcher. He hit a home run to left. And then the first baseman, he came up and hit a home run.
Mountcastle.
He hit a home run, and then the next inning was when Gunnar hit his. He hit his to right field.
Right.
But I mean, it's they just once that team starts hitting, you can't stop them. And the Nationals yesterday, Winker, who's playing left field for him, who's their left fielder, he had a grand slam. They won 11-4 or something over Miami. And there's another team that's not.
Yeah,
Miami challenged for Miami was in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a building block, but instead it's a stumbling block because their two best pitchers are still out. Now they got
another one is hurt.
Right, and they don't have enough bats in that clubhouse to bang their way to up to the front. They just don't, and they play in a stadium that if you got good pitching, that's the great stadium. But when you don't have good pitching and adequate defense, it's not the best.
Well, that's what helped them last year was they had the pitchers were in pretty good shape, and their defense was good, and they have a lot of speed, and that ballpark is like a canyon.
Yeah,
and they brought in the fences.
Yeah, I know. That's the place where home runs go to die, is that field. But this year has been. It's going to come down to health and perseverance and who has the most depth. I think, especially at pitching, and we always talk about it here. Is pitching is the number one commodity, and that's why we don't want them to add 2 more teams to the league because there's just not. I think there's enough players to go around, but not pitching, and it's just going to kill the league with pitching.
Well, the other thing, the shortstop for the Washington Nationals, he was Player of the Week or something like that last week or the week before.
C.J. Abrams.
And he made a play yesterday.
He was leading the team in home runs as well at one point.
He still is. He made a play yesterday, running a ground ball up the middle. He was running towards center field, snagged the ball, turned his body, never broke stride. And he didn't throw it on one hop. He threw a strike to Meneses first base.
When he came up with the Padres, that was going to be, when he was with them, that was supposed to be the great shortstop, and they traded him for Soto, which I thought, Washington, you're losing a great play, fantastic player, and you're getting 2 good players in return.
Exactly.
So Mackenzie Gore's doing okay.
He pitched very well the other day.
Well, and that team you cannot give up outs, and you can't give them extra outs. You can't give up extra bases. You can't let a single be a double and stuff like that.
Well, like yesterday, they scored 11 runs. That's the most.
And that outfield, I've said it before too. That outfield, balls are not going to fall in that outfield. That is a very fast outfield team in Washington. They got some speed, and they can D it up out there. The arms are a little iffy. It's kind of like the Arizona. Arizona can run down any ball, but some of their outfielders need a relay man to get to the relay man.
They have no power. They have very little power. Joey Gallo was their power.
At Washington?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, when your shortstop's leading the team in home runs, and it's not named Altuve.
all three outfielders have had bunt base hits.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. You get on base, and hopefully you can place the small ball.
Well,
that's they can't. They're not going to be Earl Weaver style, bloop, dink, and a hump bang. They're not going to have that there.
Well, we're taping on Sunday.
Yeah, Ruiz is back for him. He was out for a little while.
Right.
Ruiz a catcher.
Well, Robles is out now. He's hurt.
Yeah.
But he's not a great bat, but he's a great center fielder.
Yeah,
but,
he's
awesome. Thursday, Kansas City was leading the major leagues in stolen bases, and Washington was second.
Right. You got if you can't move them, you got to get them somewhere.
And
Kansas City is exciting. That team is just that team is so young, and I mean that's the team of the future. I think you give them 2 more years. I think they got to hit in the right direction. They got a great guy holding them together behind the plate. I don't know if he's got 2 more years in his knees to catch. Maybe he'll DH some, or I don't know. But I'm talking about Salvador Perez. But he's a great leader. He'll make a great coach one day.
Well, he's DH this year, and he's played a couple of games at first.
Yeah. But, man, you can't take old Pasquatch out of there at first base.
Well, they put him in DH.
Yeah, the fans will riot if he's not in the line.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the other thing. I'm glad to see the fans in a lot of these ballparks are having a blast. I mean, they're giving people nicknames. Now, this Cowser came up for the Orioles, and they already had the thing out there with spraying the water and everything. They had that out there, and now they got the cow pen, and people are coming in there dressed up in cow suits. They've fan whatever it is that makes the hats. They're making hats now with the black and white cow thing with the oil.
Fanatics is?
Yeah. They were wearing a hat yesterday in the stands in Baltimore. They've come out, they got hoodies, the cow things, hoodies. Like you see people wearing a Chick-fil-A.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean,
Baltimore's a fun now that's a fun crowd. They got younger. But I mean it's just fun for all ages there. It's a fun ballpark. It mirrors the team. I mean, the players are younger. They very relaxed.
And if you've ever been to the Baltimore, if you've ever been there, Camden Yards, that's one of the prettiest ballparks in the major league.
It's not in a great part of town, but it's a beautiful ballpark.
Well, yeah, but once you go into the hotels there, you don't have to leave that area.
Yeah.
That's where they've got the football stadiums there, the baseball stadium, the aquarium, restaurants.
Yeah, it's the Inner Harbor.
Museums.
Yeah. So yeah, that beautiful. Well, I mean, Pittsburgh's like that. You got some beautiful places, stadiums that are arts of work. If y'all hear a buzzing sound, somebody's having a problem with their fire alarm. It's been going off.
I can't hear it.
All right. It's driving me crazy. It's messing with my thought process.
On the 12th, I believe it's the 12th of May, 10th, 12th, something like that. Atlanta is going to be playing the Orioles in Baltimore. So that's something to look forward to. Right. I know that because I sat next to 2 Atlanta fans in church today, and just before the service started, they told me they had seats for the 12th. They were going to go up there and see Baltimore play that. They're Atlanta fans. They're going to go see him play Baltimore.
I think that's Mother's Day, too.
Could possibly be.
May 12th?
Yeah. That might be why they're going, because that might be her present.
Right. Yeah, I mean, well, it used to be you could go. I've been to Baltimore for a Baltimore Braves game, and it was more Braves fans there because that's when Baltimore stunk. I don't think it's going to be that way this time.
No. Yeah. And that's the other thing about the Beltway in Washington and Baltimore is that there's so many people that work for the government and that from all over the country, all over the world.
But we used to go in the early days of Washington, and you would see all kinds of hats in the stands. Washington won over that city. That's a Washington stadium now.
They had to win it over, and
Yeah.
but they had the players to do it, like Zimmerman and that. And
Right.
they
Harper came in, Worth in the early days.
and then they had the 2 first-round draft picks, and that
Yeah, they've had some really good people for that city to embrace. And I mean, some guys that weren't everyday players that were embraced by that city. We saw it firsthand. That's always how you win them over, and they did there. That's real fun. Tampa Bay haven't done that yet. they haven't done it yet.
I was going to go the whole program without mentioning umpires.
You can't.
But I had to mention, because I was watching the game when this happened. It was in Atlanta. 2 strikes. Pitcher throws the pitch. Acuna, I believe was it Acuna or the shortstop? It doesn't matter. Fouled it down. The ball hits and pops up in the air, and the catcher catches it, and he shows it to the umpire. Well, if a foul tip hits any part of the catcher's equipment and doesn't hit the ground, it can bounce straight up in the air 20 feet. If he catches it before it hits the ground, it's a strike. So the umpire called the batter out. So the announcer said, well, it must have hit the catcher on the foot. So sure enough, he fouled the ball down. It hit in the dirt like about a quarter of an inch, an eighth of an inch, and hit the spikes and went straight up in the air, and the catcher caught it, and they called him out. It was plain as day. It hit the dirt first. A non-reviewable play. One of those non-reviewable plays. So that was it. He called him out. That was it. They called the umpire. Snitker asked them to get the umpires together to ask if anybody saw it hit the ground, and nobody saw it hit the ground. So that was it. He just had to go back to the dugout. That was the end of the inning. So, but here again, all they had to do, it would have taken 2 seconds on the replay to see that was the ball hit the ground.
Right.
So here again, it wasn't poor umpiring because it was a hard call to make. I'm not blaming the umpire. I'm not blaming any of the umpires. I'm blaming the system.
Right.
That should something that simple should be reviewable. It doesn't take 5 seconds. So, I mean, it's not like. See, the other thing is too. A couple of people I was talking to this morning at church, they would get upset about the umpires in the reviews when they do the review, and then they don't overturn it, or they do overturn it, and that's not the way we saw it. We thought it was the other way around. They're blaming the umpires. I said, you can't blame the umpires. They're not like the referees in basketball or in football to go look at a monitor. These guys they got the earbuds in, and the people in New York are telling them. They don't look at anything. You can't blame them. They're just doing what the guy in New York tells them. So that thing, that yesterday, the guy in New York could have looked at that thing in about 2 seconds, told him, foul ball. But so I had to bring that up.
But, in those things, I'm like, well, it is what it is at that point. It's just the blatant ones they miss. I mean, they did review one that I saw early this week, might have been from the week before, though, where it was a play at second, and they reviewed it, and you saw the guy was safe. The foot was in the tag, and they didn't reverse it. They stuck with the out, and it was the third out of the game.
Oh, that was this week.
Yeah.
That was this week.
I was like,
when that happened,
the announcer just went off. He goes, "Why do we do this? What are we doing?"
Yeah, I was watching. I was sitting there going, "Well, the replay guy in New York must have wanted to coach, Wheel of Fortune or something, because he wanted to go home because it was obvious he was safe."
Yeah, tag was high, and I was like, "Ooh," and so everybody makes mistakes. When we complain about umpires, it seems to be the same umpires. It's the same stuff. you're going to miss a call. We talked about it before, but when it's the same umpires missing call after call, and then look around to wait for somebody to say something to do so you can be Mr. Tough Guy and throw him out of the game because everybody came to see you do that. That's where we have the issue.
Well, I umpired high school baseball and girls softball for 3 years, and I umpired off and on in slow pitch softball for years. So, yeah, I know what it's like. I've missed calls. I got most of them right, like most umpires do, that aren't named Angel. But
I was going to say,
but yeah, that's one thing. I've never been an angel. Never been, no. I don't think anybody's ever confused me for one. But the point is, umpires are human like everybody else. The other thing is about umpiring, just like anything else. I don't care what it is, parenting, teaching, coaching, anything. Try to be better tomorrow than you are today.
Right.
Never settle for the status quo. Always try to be better tomorrow than you are today. And it's a process. And I don't care if you're a major league umpire. Don't take it for granted just because you're a major league umpire that you're doing your job real well and you don't have to improve. You always try to improve.
Right. Well, Dad, I think I'm going to cut this one short this week because this is, I'm going to say, a pretty boring week of baseball, which is not all bad. We don't have things to gripe about, really. And
no,
it's just moving along and some great playing and we just enjoy the game. But everything going on in this world right now, that's my word. My last word of the day is, find something else that you enjoy that takes your mind off the crap, and baseball does it and sports does it for us. But that's not what we're all about, but it helps us just
have fun to compartmentalize.
Right. And we talk about baseball like this, but we know it's just baseball.
And we just want to watch the game. And while the game's on, I don't think about the other junk.
Right. That's right. It's mindless and we enjoy it. You got anything you want to say, Dad, before we sign off on this one, on this quick day?
No. The playoffs in girls softball and men's baseball in college are getting close. So
yep.
I always enjoy those too.
Yeah, that's when you're talking about the D1 top 25. The only thing that's really good for is who's hosting a regional and can you have a super regional.
That's all good.
All right, Dad. Well, we're going to end it with that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for taking the time to tune in to us this week. And until next time, see ya.